Continuing our series on reviewing every single movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, today we have one of the more criminally underrated gems in the entire franchise. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Captain America, the First Avenger. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you once again for tuning in to talk about movies. I really appreciate that. And in this video, we've got a great movie to talk about. Before we get started though, if you guys can just do me a favor, like the video and subscribe down below. It really helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to turn on those post notifications so you never miss another video that I put out. We're gonna be putting out videos like crazy this year, so stay tuned for those. I'm also starting a podcast, just reviewing more movies and stuff like that with a buddy of mine. So we're gonna be trying to get those out later this year, but we'll get to that later down the line. Without further ado, let's talk about the criminally underrated Captain America, the First Avenger. This movie follows Steve Rogers, a frail and skinny kid from Brooklyn, desperately trying to enlist into the army. He then gets recruited into a super soldier program, transforming him into the perfect soldier. The story of this movie is perfect. I think that Marvel made this movie kind of at the right time because it's just so refreshing to come back to this movie and look at all of that 1940s aesthetic. I really love movies that are set in different time periods, and this one especially is one of my favorites. The movie is directed by Joe Johnston, and I love the way he directs it. I think that it feels more like a Rocky movie in a sort of sense. The way that Steve Rogers is kind of portrayed as like an underdog character, it really works here. And this is also a character trait that we see kind of grow throughout the other movies. The way he directs the scenes with Peggy and Steve and Bucky, and you can really tell that the director cared about the characters here. This is not just some action movie about the perfect soldier. And again, I think this is a really interesting character trait that Steve Rogers carries throughout the rest of the MCU. I'm not very familiar with Joe Johnston's past work. However, upon research, he's known to be great with visual effects, and that's one thing I did want to talk about in this movie is the technology used to make Chris Evans look super skinny and just not the same person he was before he took the serum. For the most part, it looks really well done. There were just some moments that I couldn't wrap my head around this kid being Steve Rogers, this kid being Chris Evans, you know? His head is just too big on his body for some reason, and I mean, obviously, we've spent the last like 12 years watching him as this big, perfect soldier. Maybe just rewatching it with Chris Evans' head being on this skinny body, it just threw me off. For 2011 though, all things considered, it looks pretty goddamn good. It just took me out of the movie for a couple scenes, that's all. Speaking of Chris Evans, he's as perfect as it's gonna get. And you're gonna hear me say that about a lot of characters and a lot of actors in the MCU because Marvel is really good at casting. He's perfect at giving very subtle and sorrow performance, but like I said, he's portraying an underdog, so you're rooting for this character the entire time, and Chris Evans plays it perfectly. And those action scenes are what stands out to me because he just embodies the character and the image of Captain America. Hugo Weaving is also in the movie as Red Skull, and yeah, he's whatever. I mean, of course the acting is really good. I just don't think Red Skull's character was as strong as it could have been. From what I know, this is a huge Captain America villain, and I feel like the story was more on Steve Rogers as his journey into becoming a hero, and Red Skull was kind of just along for the ride. It just felt like Red Skull was not a real focal point of the movie, and that's another thing that you're going to hear me talk about in the rest of the series because the villains of the MCU aren't great. There's only a few that are actually really good. I don't think Red Skull is one of them. Again, I might be wrong. Maybe I must have missed something. If you guys have anything to say, let me know down below in the comment section. We can keep discussing it. Another key part in not just this movie, but the entire Captain America trilogy is his relationship with Bucky Barnes, and he's played by Sebastian Stan. Again, Sebastian Stan's really good in the movie. Most of the performances are really good. I don't see one bad performance. Haley Atwell's good. Tommy Lee Jones is in there for a little bit. Again, like I just talked about Hugo Weaving, but everybody plays a really good part. Sebastian Stan is very good in the role. There's not really much else to say here, but I will say that this relationship between him and Steve Rogers is one of the real reasons to watch the trilogy because that relationship is so important, and you see that in this movie. Just some standout moments for me in the movie are when Steve has finally taken the super soldier serum, but there's a montage of him doing plays and stuff, of him basically like being treated as a character and not as an actual soldier. So he's out there doing show tunes and trying to get people to enlist in the army. He's basically become like a icon for World War II. And you can obviously tell that this is not what he wants to do. He doesn't want to sing and dance on stage for other soldiers. He wants to get out there and fight, and then he finally takes that chance to go save Bucky Barnes. Every single scene with Haley Atwell and Chris Evans together, I think, is just perfect chemistry. They set up a lot of stuff in this movie that we see paid off very, very far down the line, but it gets paid off eventually. I didn't like Red Skull that much in this movie, but I will say that the makeup or the CGI for his face looks really good. The Captain America costume in this movie is also really, really nice. I think that they did a good job at making this grounded, because we do see the comic suit in the movie, and it's kind of played off as like yeah, it's supposed to be cheesy, but that's his original comic costume. And then we get to his actual like tactical suit, and it just looks gritty, and I think this might be one of my favorite Captain America suits. Everything with pre-super soldier serum Steve Rogers I loved. I'll say it for the last time, this is like the perfect underdog story, and they spent so much time just covering all of that before he got the serum to make you root for this character throughout the entire movie. So definitely one of my favorite parts of the movie. I think that when this movie is all said and done, this is definitely one of my personal favorites in the MCU. The writing is great. I love the direction, and the performances are all solid. And for a movie made in 2011, this definitely really holds up, especially compared to some of the recent Marvel projects that we've gotten. But yeah, guys, that's all the time I got for you. Really enjoying the MCU so far in my rewatch. The next movie in the series is going to be The Avengers, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank you guys for joining me to talk about movies. I really appreciate it, seriously. Let me know what you guys thought about Captain America: The First Avenger. Just leave me any comments down below. Before you guys go, if you guys can do me a favor and like the video down below if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications to my channel so you never miss another video. I'm going to be posting movie related content like this all the time, so if you guys are into that, go ahead and drop me a follow. Seriously, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video.